Hey guys, and welcome to the Steve Freeman Podcast. I am, of course, your host, Steve Freeman, hit songwriter, multi-platinum selling record producer, serial entrepreneur. I know that it's been a couple of weeks since we've put out an episode of the podcast, but for good reason, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Thank you for being here today. Don't think, just do. That's a philosophy that, quite frankly, I don't believe in, and I got into a heated debate with a semi-celebrity on Instagram last week, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Don't think, just do. Before we get started with the podcast today, I want to remind you, please subscribe to the podcast. That way it is automatically downloaded to your playlist, or you get a notification every time a new episode is uploaded. I would love to have you a part of my inner circle. You can do so by joining the Music Business blog. All you have to do is visit my site, thestevefreeman.com. And as always, follow me on social media. Behind the scenes look. You get to know what's going on in my life. If you care what's going on in my life, I'd love to have you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find me everywhere on social media at the Steve Freeman. All right, let's get into today's episode. So last week I was thumbing through Instagram, and some of you may have noticed, those of you that follow me regularly and engage with me, and you'll notice I have not been very active on social media the last 2 or 3 weeks. There's been a good reason for that. Stay tuned. At the end of the show, I'm going to talk about why exactly that is. I've got some news that I want to share with you. But I was going through Instagram, and I saw a promoted post, you know, one of those things that somebody else posts and then promotes. I don't agree with all of that. I don't think it actually works, although it actually worked because it got in front of me and I saw it. But there was a post from like I said, a semi-celebrity. She was on a television show, a reality show on the Reels network a few years back. And she owns an artist development company. Now, you guys know me, I tell the truth. I've yet to ever find anybody that she's ever worked with or been successful with. The only reason people know her is from the show. But she put up this post, and it was a graphic that said, "Don't think about it, just do it." And then in her description below, she talked about not thinking too hard about your music, just get in the studio and make music. Just pick up the guitar, sit down at the piano and start writing. Don't think too hard about it, just get involved. Now, I understand what she was trying to say. And I will be the first one to tell you that to some degree, there's some truth in that. But I would almost change it to a thing of don't think about getting started, okay? Yes, just get started. Just get moving, get going, get momentum behind you. But what she was saying, I totally disagreed with, because I don't think, for one, and this is what I commented back loosely. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't give you verbatim what I said. But basically what I said was, I've said that artists and songwriters, content creators, those of us responsible for creating the content, not thinking about it and just doing it is the reason that the business is where it is today. I think if you turn on your radio, or you watch television or consume pretty much any creative platform, I think you can tell that the difference between today and say 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I think we can all agree that a lot less thought has gone into the product than it used to. I think because people are not thinking about it and just doing it, that's why we see all of these artists come out with these songs that, let's just face it, they're not great songs. And guys, you've heard me talk about this in the past. Just because something is popular doesn't make it great, okay? It just doesn't. People often confuse those two things. They think, oh, it's the number one song on the Billboard chart. It doesn't make it a great song. It just makes it popular. And popular is something that is bought and sold, right? I mean, we've talked about this in the past with radio stations, with PR, with publicity. All of that stuff is bartered. It is bought. It is traded. Popularity can be purchased. Greatness can't. So when I read this post and I'm sitting there, don't think about it, just do it. My thought is the exact opposite. Maybe we should be putting more thought into what we're doing. If you're a songwriter, and let's face it, if you're, most of you, I would say 90% of you that watch or listen to my podcast, you're not at the level where you're doing this professionally. You want to be doing it professionally. Maybe some of you, about 10% of you are doing it professionally. And I know some of you guys out there, celebrities and big artists, I know you're watching and listening because I get your text messages. I know you're not engaging, but I know you're listening. But for those of you that fall into that 90% category, I encourage you to actually put more thought into it. When you do set aside time to write or to create, if you're a producer and you're going to sit down and you're going to start putting together tracks and you want to have something that's awesome, that's great, and you do have that limited amount of time to actually do it because you have a full-time job or whatever else that you have to do to allow you and afford you the ability to be able to do what you want to do, which is music. When you set aside that time, maximize that time, put in the thought. Don't just sit down and do it to be doing it. I think we should be putting more thought into our process. Think about what you want to write about. Why do you want to write about that? What does it mean to you personally? How can you turn what it is that you're thinking about and what it is that you want to create into something that's going to mean something to somebody else beyond yourself? Because that's what you have to do. We can't just create things that mean something to us. Now, that's an important part of the process. But that's not the key element to the process. It's our job to be a mirror. It's our job to translate. It's our job to think of a concept that means something to us and turn it into something that can be meaningful to a larger number of people and communicate that in a way that other people get the message and that it sinks in with them. And then they think, oh, if it means something to me, then I can share it with somebody else. That is where the music business starts to take off. As much as we want to talk about social media marketing and purchasing Facebook ads and doing all that, which you should be doing, at the ground level of building success in the music business, and honestly, guys, building success with anything you want to do, no matter all of the tips and the tricks and the advertising and marketing possibilities, the best form of advertising is still word of mouth. And if we put the thought in, if we actually think about what we're doing before we just do it, maybe if we put that time in and we put that thought into creating something meaningful, then the oldest trick in the book, the oldest marketing tool in the book will actually work for us. And that is grassroots. That is one person telling another person, telling another person, telling someone else. Check out this song. Watch this video. Listen to this track. It moves me. It moved me. It spoke to me. It made me want to do this. It made me want to do that. It got a reaction. I think a lot of the music that we're creating today doesn't get that reaction. That's why songs and music don't really have the shelf life that they have. They used to have. Artists used to put out a new song every 26 weeks. Now artists are putting out new songs every 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And I am convinced that it's because we don't sit down and we don't put the right amount of thought into what it is that we're creating. We're not shooting for greatness. We're shooting to get it done. We're shooting it to get it out and get to the money part of it, get to the exchange part of it. But I think one of the things that we're leaving out is the value. The value of something comes in the thought out process of creation. Not just sitting down, putting down a loop and singing a verse and a chorus and then repeating everything. It's not about seeing who can get done the fastest. Guys, I've said it a million times. The music business and finding success in the music business is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Those of you that are willing to put in the thought and actually come up and create something great, something that you're proud of, I promise you that is creating a value between you and your fan, you and your potential fan. Focus on creating value and stop thinking about that the song at the end of this thing is the value. See, that's not the value. The actual product is not the value. The value is found in what that product means to somebody else. Do they value it enough to purchase it, to share it, to stream it, to watch it? The value is the exchange of emotional connection from your music to the fan or to the listener or to the watcher. The value is not the song itself. The value is not the video itself. That's just a tangible object. The value is in the emotional response that you get from the people consuming it. When you start thinking about that, then you can start thinking clearly, and you start understanding, wow, it is a fact that we, in the United States anyway, we do not value music the way that we used to. People are willing to walk into Starbucks and buy a $6 cup of coffee, but they bitch, moan, gripe, and complain when they have to pay $1.29 for a song that they can have forever. That cup of coffee is going to last an hour, and then it's gone. And then you have to go buy another one. But a song you can literally buy for $1.29 and have it forever. It's because we don't value music. We have created a culture of quantity over quality and serve. Keep attention. And the only way to do that is to keep stuffing the funnel full. But somewhere in the process, we forgot about the value. We forgot that we actually are trading value for money, and we took the value out of it. We started thinking less and doing more. When you think about that on its surface, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. If you were going to build a house, trust me, you'd put a lot of thought into the construction and how you're going to build it. And you have to look at plans. There are plans that are drawn up, that are made, that contractors go by, and they study them to make sure that they build the house correctly. They don't just show up with a bunch of 2x4s, hammers and nails, and start hammering and nailing shit together. That's not the way that it's done. It's planned out very thoroughly. They know where they're going to build. They prepare the place where they're going to build. They pour a foundation, and on that foundation, everything else is built. But every angle, every pitch in the roof, every 2x4 has a specific place, and it's all planned out so that it all comes together to form a well-built house. Why on earth are you not approaching your career in the music business as a songwriter, producer, engineer, manager, booking agent, whatever it is that you may be or want to be? Why are you not approaching your career in the exact same way? Songwriters, why aren't you approaching every single song that you write with that philosophy in mind? I'm going to figure out what I'm going to write about, the different aspects of how I can talk about what it is that I'm going to write about. Then I'm going to build a foundation. And then I'm going to think, and I'm going to put the time in necessary to make sure that this song is a well-constructed, well-built song that has the opportunity to provide value. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Now, will you be able to write less songs? Will you be able to produce less music approaching it this way? You absolutely will. But I promise you that if you do adopt this and you do think about it in these terms and you really care about what it is that you're creating, I promise you that quality beats quantity every single day of the week. Give your music the value. Stop thinking that the value is in the finished product and getting to that finished product as fast as possible, because it's not. Like I said earlier, you can turn your radio on, you can turn on the TV, and you can tell that there are a lot of professionals out there that are not thinking about it and just doing it. I hear in the circles that I travel in, I hear songwriters joke about this all the time. We wrote this song in 20 minutes. There's one song in particular, and I'm not going to say the names, but there's one song in particular, and it was a hit song. It was a multi-week #1 on the country charts, that I was hanging out with the writers, and they were literally joking about the fact that they wrote the song as a joke. They wanted to see if they could write something and get it cut, and they wanted to write it as fast as humanly possible and threw it together really quickly just to see if they could get it cut. And they did. They got it cut and it went to #1. Does that make it a great song? No, because at the heart of it, that song's still a joke. There's no value in it. They just got publicity for it that was bought and paid for by the record label, by the consultants. It was just a lost leader. It's just one of those songs that's the pack of gum or something at the checkout counter at Walmart or Target that they want you to pick up while you're waiting to check out. I think we owe the end user and our fans more than that. I think we owe them the time to actually sit down and think it out and think it through and create that value again. We can do that because, see, that's in all of our hands. We keep looking at the industry. Oh, why doesn't the industry change? I wish the industry would change. Guys, we are the industry. If we don't change, the industry won't change. If we don't put more into our work, the industry will not change. If we don't bring back the time, the thought, the planning, and the proper building of the songs that we're making, the industry isn't going to change. If we don't somehow find a way to create the value of our product, the industry will never change. So I've got to change. You've got to change. Those of us that make up the music industry, we have to change. And you know what? Those of you that are out there watching this, listening to this, and you're not a professional, you're not in the business, but you want to be, you are just as much a valuable member, if not more of a valuable member to this industry than the rest of us that are engaged at a high level at it every day. And I'll tell you why, because you are the future of our business. If you change your mind now, then maybe, and you start searching for that value and trying to provide value, and you are putting in the thought and you're putting in the work, and your concern is making a great product that has value, that will start to rub off on the people in the circles that you're involved in, and then those people change. We are the industry. If we don't change and we don't set on a new course or a new direction, it's only going to get worse. The product is only going to have a lesser value in people's minds. I mean, I don't know how much further down the tube we can go. A recent study showed that over 85% of people think that music should be free. I guarantee you those people have never had to pay to make any of it. So there's that. 85% of people don't value music enough to pay for it. Why is that? Because we used to be a culture and an industry where people ran to record stores to pay $20 for a CD or $15.99 for a cassette tape. And now 85% of the public thinks it should be free. I don't think that's the record label's problem. I don't think that's the publisher's problem. I think that's an us problem. I think that problem starts with you and me not thinking about what we're doing enough and just doing it. I think we took the value and we devalued it so much that people think it should be free. The only way to change it is you and me. We have to put that value back in our product. That's going to require thought. That's going to require planning. And most importantly, it's going to have to come with a commitment that we're not going to just not think about it and do it. But we're actually going to start taking time, thinking about it, creating value, and making something that people actually value again. I think we can do it, but it starts right here. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today for the Steve Freeman Podcast. I know it's been a few weeks since we've had an episode, and here's what I want to tell you. I've alluded a couple times that I am starting something, and I've been working on something. Speaking of planning, I'm getting ready to launch something, and it's probably going to be early 2020, January. It may be a little bit sooner, but I'm putting the right amount of thought and planning and effort into doing this. I've been planning it for over a year. I've been getting the right people in line over the last year. And it's coming to fruition. And it's going to require us to have a bigger space, a larger studio, several studios, as a matter of fact. And later this week, we are moving to our new home. We've got new offices. We've got new filming space, a brand new Steve Freeman podcast studio, a new filming location, offices for the new team. And it's a huge thing, and I couldn't be more excited, and I cannot wait to tell you guys all about it. Because if you are an independent artist, a songwriter, producer, engineer, you want to be in the music business as a professional, I can tell you something's on the way that's going to take you to a whole new level and give you the access and information that you need to find success in the music business. I posted a little something in my Instagram stories about it last week, and it truly is, and I mean it. All 25, 30 years of my experience in the music business has led to this, and I couldn't be more excited about it. So be watching for updates. Because next, I think we start moving into the new studios on Friday. So there may be a little bit of a lag. I'm going to try to get the podcast done all 3 days this week. But there may be a little bit of a lag next week as we move into our new location, our new studios, new offices. It's kind of an undertaking. I hate moving. I hate moving. But it had to be done. And I'm looking forward to being in our new space here in Nashville. I couldn't be more excited about it. And I can't be more excited about finally in the coming weeks being able to tell you guys all about it and what's going on and what's happening. To stay up to date with all of the news, all of the information, make sure that you are following me on social media at The Steve Freeman across all social media platforms. Join the Music Business Blog, become a part of my inner circle. You can do that at my website, thestevefreeman.com. Guys, as we end today's episode, just keep this in mind. Keep being creative. Keep pushing the boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you in the next one.
Out in the first round, I had enough. I hold on to you, this might be a bit rough.